So what to say about the new Glock Gen 6 that other people haven't? I have an idea. How about the truth? Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. That is right. Today we are going to talk about probably one of the more controversial pistols that have come out in the last, some time really. And it's from Glock. It's the Glock Gen 6, this being the G19. And unlike some of the channels you probably watch who have found a larger following and noticed a bump in their analytics by doing Glock hate videos, I'm going to tell you the truth about the Glock 19 Gen 6, what I think about it, what I think they did right, and what I think they could have improved on. So let's get into it. So before we get into that, if you like honest firearm content, if you like gear reviews, gun reviews, and things like that, be sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button. Hit that notification bell, leave a comment down below. I fully expect a number of people that just hate Glock because they hate Glock to be commenting down below. Go for it. It doesn't even faze me anymore. Additionally, I'd like to shout out a friend of the channel, really the only reason this channel even exists anymore, and that is Rise Armament. Check out Rise Armament. You can get 20% off by using code RTT20 at checkout. No special links, anything like that. Just a great deal for you, my viewers, on all parts and accessories, including triggers and things like that. So check out Rise Armament. Let's get into the Gen 6 Glock 19. I'm not going to get into all the very tiny particular specs of it because it's very much Glock 19, right? So lengths, widths, weights, all that stuff is very much the same or similar, and there's no sense in going over 3 decades worth of stuff that you already know. I'm also going to compare it to my favorite Glock clone because that's sort of where Glock has dipped their toe into, is upgrading things to what people have commonly bought through their Glock clones in the aftermarket. So I'm going to do some comparisons on how I think Glock did compared to my favorite Glock clone, which is the Grit Grips G19 clone, complete Grit Grips pistol, and see where this all stacks up. So one of the things that constantly comes up every time Glock does a new generation of a pistol is, does it fit the previous gen holster? And 99 times out of 100, it's yes, and this is no exception. This is the Works M6 holster. You guys know how much I love Works holsters. There is a link to Works in the description. They don't sell regulated goods, so I'm allowed to put that link in the description for you. So check out Works. Awesome company, awesome holsters. But yes, it does, in fact, fit my previous generation, I guess you would call it, of Glock holsters. So it does come with 3 of the Gen 5 style, that with that dumbass lip on it. Magazines, 15 round magazines. It comes with 3 of those, but it of course fits. This is a Glock OEM magazine of previous generations. It does fit the standard, previous gen Glock mags as well. And that's probably the first thing, is that silly lip that they put on these Gen 5 mags. I don't know why they did it. I was never a fan of it when Gen 5 came out. Still not a fan of it. I mean, for 3 or 4 decades, Glock kept things so much the same. Why change that base plate? I have no idea. So let's start at the top of the gun. The top of the gun has their brand new optic mounting system. I'm sure there's a name for it, and I don't care. But their new optic mounting system is not like their old MOS system. There is no plates to deal with as far as threading a plate to the slide and then threading your optic into the plate. So it's a polymer or plastic plate that goes down first, and then you screw your optic down directly to the slide, and that polymer plate gives some negative or pressure back to the optic itself. So that is supposed to act like a an aid in locking the optic down with having to squeeze that plate together. So we'll see how it works. So far, I like it. I have 1,400 rounds through this gun at this point. Figure that's plenty enough to give my opinion on it. So far I like it. I haven't had anything come loose. Some people have said something about there's a gap in front and back, depending on the optic you use and things like that. I don't care. I think it's a dumb, if it was cut for a very specific one optic, sure, that would be a problem. But I think it's kind of a dumb argument as far as being a problem. So there's that. They also fixed the through hole problem with the right side hole for the optic mounting that went all the way through to your ejection rail or to your extractor rail plunger, that you would either get goop in there from Loctiting it down, or you'd actually pin down the extractor rod with too long of a bolt. So they fixed that, made it a blind hole. Awesome. The slide is very much the slide. Front serrations that work very well, rear serrations that work very well. Has a bevel cut on the nose, which is something I think they started in Gen 4. I know it was in Gen 5, but I think that's something they started on some of the models in Gen 4 as well. Yeah, it's a Glock slide. And it does come with the scary, they fail every time you try and use the gun, polymer sights. So the polymer sights are a point of contention for people. They're fine. I have tens of thousands of rounds on Glocks with polymer sights, never had a problem with them. So yeah, and what I see many times in other channels that I watch that have complained about Glock polymer sights, even though they're the most readily available aftermarket sights on the market, they'll say about a gun, it comes with XYZ sights, and if you don't like those, you can buy different ones from the XYZ company. And they seem to be just fine with that. But then they do a Glock video and they're like, it comes with polymer sights and this is the end of the world. The hypocrisy in the gun community is not lost on me, and it's very, very, very apparent. Same light rail they've always had. And that brings us down into the rest of the frame, which is really where the bulk of the changes were made. And I think every change was good, but I don't think they went far enough in some of them. So starting with the trigger guard's very much the same, with the exception of a single undercut, helping with that dreaded Glock knuckle on your middle finger. I think that was a great change. I think it's a change that has been being needed for many, many years. However, I've said with other aftermarket companies that have had a single undercut, it's like, while you're there, why don't you do both? And so I would knock Glock for that. Just do both. Do the double undercut and just call it a day. Grit Grips has a great double undercut. Very, very comfortable to shoot. Glock has improved theirs with the single undercut, but they skipped the double undercut. One of the things that has been very common among aftermarket grips have been the thumb ledge. Not only did Glock put a very, very usable thumb ledge on both sides for ambi, on both sides of their grip, but they put really heavy checkering grip texture in it, the same grip texture that they upgraded to in the grip, which we'll get into in a second. I think this was a phenomenal upgrade to their OEM slide, and really brings them into the world that people have commonly bought aftermarket grips for. Moving from there into the grip itself is 360 degrees, this very heavy checkering. It does a great job. One of the things Glock has missed the mark on, I don't think it's been horrible. Some people do, to each their own. But one of the things Glock has routinely missed the mark on is really heavy, good grip texturing. Not that, say, something like the G19 has been hard to handle. It doesn't have like a wild snap recoil, but they did improve the grip texturing quite a bit, all the way up to the top of the frame here, all the way around. There are back straps with the same grip texturing on it that come with the gun. And of course, they kept it without the finger grooves because some people liked them, some people didn't. I don't care either way. This could have had finger grooves in it, could have not. It wouldn't have bothered me either way. One thing they did do is they created sort of a palm swell hump in the side of the grip on either side. That was one of the things I pointed out with my grit grips frame, was that there's a hump here and here, and you know, your hand is humped in here, and that hump really sucks into my hand real nicely. And I like the fact that Glock has added that to their OEM frame. There's just a little bit of a hump here. It sucks right into the pit of your hand here and just makes for, I'm going to say, a less blocky grip. Some people would probably disagree because they look at the blockiness this way, but there is actually some contouring here now. I think it's awesome. And then back from there, they did one of probably my favorite things to it, and that is they lengthened the beaver tail. So one common problem with Glocks has always been Glock slide bite, right? Where if you actually grip the gun like you're supposed to, you end up with a little bit of the meat of your hand up here. And that has commonly bit your hand with the slide. Having that extended beaver tail on there has taken care of that. I think that's an awesome, awesome change that they made in their OEM grip. Now, moving down from there, they did flare this out for a little bit of a magwell. This is some subjectivity here. The Grit Grips does not come with a magwell. You can buy a magwell for it from Grit Grips, and it's a great magwell. There's nothing wrong with it. I love it. I think it's a great addition to the frame itself. Some people don't want them, some people do. So Glock may have alienated some of their clientele, some of their potential customers having a magwell on it. It's not as extreme as some of these aftermarket magwells, but it is an extra hump nonetheless that some people may or may not like. So that possibility exists that they may have alienated some of their clientele with that. The grip angle has stayed the same. The grip angle has stayed the same, which is a good thing. Contrary to the internet that says this is the wrong grip angle, it is an optimized grip angle. I've explained this before. It forces you to rock your wrist forward a little bit when you get up and aim, and helps with recoil mitigation. Now this brings us into the trigger. The trigger is something that changed as well. It's sort of a hooked flat face trigger. I know hooked and flat face aren't the same. It's got a little tiny hook on the bottom. It still has the dingus safety, trigger safety there. It still sounds very Glock, but it definitely is a better trigger than what I think the Gen 4, Gen 5, and definitely what the Gen 3 was. Now, I have seen a couple of videos. I generally don't watch a whole lot of videos on things that I'm about to review, just because I don't want their biases or what they say to affect how I think about these things, because you deserve my raw reaction, not an influenced reaction to this stuff. But I have seen some people say that this is worse than Gen 5, Gen 4, and even Gen 3. Those people have apparently skipped their meds on those days, because this is nowhere near as bad. And I say bad because it really wasn't a bad trigger, but this is nowhere near as bad as the Gen 3 trigger was. So it has a very similar trigger pull feel to it, but lighter. I'm going to say this is right around 4 pounds, maybe 4.5 pounds. But the reset is, I believe, to be shorter and a little bit more forced. And then that follow-up brake, the follow-up brake feels even lighter than the first one. So if I just do this, right, that feels heavier than the follow-up shot. I'd say that follow-up shot feels closer to like 3.5 pounds or so. And I actually compare this to something like the Overwatch polymer trigger or the Apex polymer trigger. I think it feels very, very similar in my opinion. Now, where do I think Glock fell short in these upgrades? I want to first say that after 3 decades or so of producing very, very similar guns, I'm not going to be one of those people that are like, it's just the same gun for 30 years. It's not been the same gun for 30 years. I applaud Glock for what I would call catching up. I do think that there are some areas where they could have improved. Now, while I think that this design and this pistol has largely knocked out anything that I would have wanted to change on like my original Gen 3s, like the whole reason I even started getting like aftermarket frames were for almost all the things that they have on this now. Like I personally don't have a whole lot of reason to change this frame to an aftermarket frame, because this is basically an aftermarket frame now. I do wish that while they're here doing the single undercut, they would have done the double undercut. There is no negative in my view of that. There is no reason to not do that. I also think that the slide cut, the optic mounting system, while I think it's an awesome upgrade from the MOS, I think they could have just done an RMR cut and pleased 95% of the people out there running optics, because not just RMR, but Holosun, the C footprint of Holosun, and then the endless amount of cheap Chinese knockoffs that are $199 or whatever. That's not a promotion of sale. That's just me telling people what some cost to the YouTube censors, but they're often just an RMR footprint as well. I think they could have pleased probably more people, especially the people that are going to find any little thing to talk shit about a Glock. They could have just done an RMR footprint and then called it a day. So is there a reason to buy aftermarket now that this exists? Of course there is. Of course there is. There's plenty of things that Glock can't do that pleases everybody. And I know I just got done talking about the RMR thing. There's plenty of things that Glock can't do that's going to please everybody because guns are very individual. And I don't regret this. I think this is a fantastic pistol. And if you're looking for just in my opinion, the best Glock aftermarket pistol as far as a complete pistol goes, the Grit Grips is the way to go. 100%, without question, without argument. If you're one of those people that didn't buy Glocks because you didn't like the frame, you wished it had some of those upgrades as far as what comes with aftermarket frames, and that was your big hang-up, well, this has it all. This has it all. This is, in my opinion, no doubt about it, the best Glock generation that has come out yet. Do you need to trade in your old Glock for this? Well, that's kind of up to you on what you think about all this stuff. No, you don't need to, especially if yours is still running, which it probably is. I really, really hate what they've done to this gun because it makes me want to buy the G45 now. All right, everybody, that's it. Don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Remember to hit all notifications. I, of course, don't have a relationship with Glock. I don't know that anybody outside of maybe James Reeves does. But, no, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that I was able to separate some of the BS that you've heard in videos versus, it's just some really honest opinion about the G19 and the Gen 6 in general. And to all my supporters, I am very, very happy that you've watched to this point. All of you that watched to the end, you are the heroes. You are the heroes of this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later.